Okay. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Prashnopanishad, that's what we are looking into. We come to the second Prashna, second question. So, just to give a small little background about what are this Upanishad, what is the literature of it, we really don't know very clearly how the in other cultures they have taken this issue of why we are born. Is there any purpose, or is it just the way that we are, like the wind takes away the board, and like that we are just tossed around and all for a while and then go away. In fact, some people are very clear about that, saying that death is the end of it, finish. Afterward, there is no question of any reminiscence or anything like that. So, whatever that you want to do it, you do it here itself. There is no question of good and bad, right and wrong, and all that. Whatever that gives you, do it. It might harm somebody, it might do anything for anybody. That's okay, fine. This is what is the way. And so much so it says that you borrow and then spend it for your happiness, and then you don't even have to repay it. Even in India, that kind of a culture was there in this the philosophy. It's supposed to be Charvaka philosophy. In fact, very name itself is so beautiful. Charvaka means he speaks nice. Vak means speech, nicely speaking. He nicely speaks to you and borrows from you and doesn't even repay you. Charvaka philosophy. Pranam krutva krutam vipet. So somebody he said, I don't have money, give me some money. This literally happened. I gave 100 rupees. In those days, it was a big money. He said, 100 rupees. Raghu, I'll take you for a ice cream. I said, look, I, I'm finding it difficult to buy an ice cream for myself. And because you are in difficulty, I give you 100 rupees and you borrow to take me. You give me a treat of ice cream. So, idea is that beg, borrow, whatever it is that you are, do it. In fact, just as I came this way, even one of the rishis, he tells to Rama in the forest when all these mothers and Bharata they go to bring back Rama. There was argument going on. At that point of time, he says that to Rama, why are you worried about all those things? Kingdom is there right in front of you. Come and enjoy it. Who cares for your dad and something like that? Like that, he says. Big Rishi is not an ordinary Rishi. And Rama becomes so strong about that objection. For that, no, Vasishtha has to settle it. No, no, Rama, Rishi is great. He doesn't have that view. Only just to maybe that makes you to come to the kingdom. That's what he said. Please don't take it seriously. That's it. So that other than the happiness or the joy that you enjoy in this life, is there anything which is beyond this? Purpose of life. Purpose of life cannot be within the life. Is another thing. Purpose of life should be outside the life. If you take the purpose of life within the life, then what happens is that yes, whatever that I can acquire in this life, everything a rule and every rule and law has to subserve that. So that's why our people were very wise that way. They said purpose of life should be outside the life. That means to say you should find out something outside the life. So that means to say when you leave or when you come back, maybe, then naturally there is one thing. Either you go to some place or you come back. These are the two things that are there. So that is what basically most of the philosophies have given. And Christianity and Islam, that they have given all the Abrahamic religion, they said that purpose of life is go to heaven. And what is heaven? And the heaven is defined by man living here. So whatever that you think have to be joyful, great here, they created heaven like that. It's their own imagination. So, like for example, here, sex gives me happiness. So what do I do? Oh, there are plenty of women waiting for you, and that's what Ajmal Kasab and all that. They were all behind that, and they're always young. They never grow. So all that, whatever that is there. Here, liquor gives you just you can forget about yourself. So there, here at least liquor has to go inside you. There you said the liquor flowing like a river, you entered into that. So that is what is the idea. Because this thing, Omar Khayyam writes very beautifully in his book, The Prophet, very nice book. And he writes that God rivers, the liquor rivers are flowing in heaven. You said, and then if I go there without any experience, how can I enjoy? So let me have some experience here itself. So, but this is what basically the idea. But then it's nothing but an extension of here only, and it's an imagination.
When you say purpose of life is outside life,
Yeah.
what does it mean?
See, that means to say this life is a karma bhumi. This karma has to, till the end, that you are doing something or the other. And where do we get the fruit of it? Where do we get the fruit of it? So, therefore, the fruit should be coming here, but at the same time, it takes you to that fruit. That's what is the purpose of life. It's a very beautiful concept. The idea is so that means to say, what brings me here, and what is this life, and what is that I go to. Only one thing is that it is your bondage brings you here. The freedom is the you come out of it, so that you are free. That's what is mukti or moksha. It's very beautifully said. And now, do we have that experience here or not? He said yes. That's why they said that. What is it? Your desire brings you here. If you die before the desire dies, then you still go with desire, and then you'll come back with desire. So therefore, it is called as mrityu. When you die before the die with desire dies, it's called as mrityu. When the desire dies before you die, it is moksha. The whole purpose is to see that I go free from any all the desires that is there, and then I freely leave this place. I don't. That means to say, this life itself, I should be totally satisfied. Then I don't have any desire. I'm free, don't have any desire. This moment, I'm ready to die. And what takes you to that is a knowledge. It is not that I don't. The stone also doesn't have desire, and rocks also do not have desire. But they don't have that consciousness, whereas human being is with consciousness. Animals, what is the desire that they have? Every species has one desire. That's what is called as the desire for life. This is jiveshana. Jiveshana everybody has. Like for example, even a small little insect, you try to injure that insect, immediately insect tries to run for life. And you try to touch it and then it run beside so that it can escape. But a mosquito sits on you and then you try to beat it, it tries to find itself a way to escape. So can we come out of that fear of death? Jiveshna, fear of death. Can I come out of fear of death? That's why we say this Mrityunjaya mantra. It says that Mrityor Mukshiyam Amritat. That means there is the very concept that I can go beyond the Mrityu itself gives us an idea there must be something which is beyond Mrityu. Very question itself presupposes there is something beyond Mrityu. Otherwise, the question does not come. That means basically that you are here something where which undergoes death, and there is something which does not undergo death. Is there a way I can be that here itself rather than somewhere else sometime later that I think of? So whatever that with you happens, so I don't identify my with that, and what does not undergo death, I become that, and that's why Amritatva in Ishas Upanishad also gives like that. Very subtly he gives that very beautiful idea. Ninth, 10th, 11th so sutras gives that, and that is he says that all the knowledge here will help you to see that you try to counter the death. Like, for example, medicine, try to say postpone the death. Or money, that we are to see that, yeah, even we always say that at the hard times, that money will be useful and all that we say. So that there are three things which are the Shastra says. And what are these three things? Karma, that means whatever activity, praja, dhana. Yes, is it? Karma, praja, dhana. Na karmana, na praja, dhanena. All these three things, it says that no, they can they can postpone your death, but they can't give you freedom from the death. So the one thing that gives you freedom from the death is that you here itself you identify or you are be with one that does not undergo death, so that what dies will die. Body dies, mind dies, it's all right. Anyway, they have the quality of death. Just like the day, night, and all that, going, this also flows. And we have seen in front of us everybody going. What? Why do we assume that I will be here? No, you don't have to assume it. You will also go like the way. So, but then the great people are those who identify themselves with that aspect which does not undergo death. Ramtirtha, he was 35 years, young fellow, the Swami, and he was from actually Lahore, and a great saint. He went to Ganga to take bath, and then suddenly crocodile caught him. Oh, he said to the Puran Singh, who was there, his friend. They are there, Puran. The crocodile caught him, and then I'm trying to free myself. But then, crocodile catches it, so he says, okay, I think crocodile is winning. Goodbye, I'm going. As if it is not he who is dying, and then his body is taken away by crocodile, he is free from that. That's the idea. And Shankara also, it's the same thing. When this boy Shankara, he said, give me sannyasa. Mother said no. Then the drama happened that crocodile caught him. He said, this body, either it will die one day or the other. Today it is crocodile catching, otherwise life I die. I would like to identify myself with that which does not die. That's what is sannyasa. Why don't you permit me? Mother said, if you permit me, then I'm freed from this. Mother said, okay, Aryamamba. She said, okay, all right, you take sannyasa. Then the crocodile left him, he came out. That's the idea. But then there is one condition, she said. You're also smart. He said, the condition is, before I die, you must come to see me the last day after my. I should die in your presence, in your lap. That he grants. But he is such a great fellow that he was in, Kedarnath. Suddenly he got an inclination. In those days, there's no Wi-Fi, nothing. But then he got an information that mother is dying. Immediately rushed from there to Kaladi. He just entered, mother died. Body level, we have attachment to ourselves and body level attachment to the others also. But then our attachment to the body or otherwise is only just for the sake of only purpose, but otherwise we should recognize that we are not the body. In fact, there is a beautiful word. Sharira is the body in Sanskrit, but you are not Sharira, you are Shariri, who is inside the body. So, and Sharira is also known as Deha. Deha means finally what can be consumed by fire, Dahati. That's what is Deha. But you are not Deha. You are not this body. You are complete yourself without you. When the, like for example, an accident that the arm is cut off or something like that. You are without one arm, but yourself is complete. A body may not have one arm, but yourself is complete. That cannot be reduced. A small little portion, when it is cut off, it's not reduced. You mean to say that when the body is not there, you are incomplete, you are still complete. Only thing is, you are not in this body, you are outside this being in that. Realizing that, recognizing that is what is the journey that we need to do while you are here. So, what happens is that in the beginning, that we were like that. We didn't have any body consciousness when we have started our journey. There is no body consciousness. But there is a fear of death. Even a child has the fear of death because basically the fear of death does not belong to only this life. It has a previous experience, previous life is there, so therefore fear of death continues. That we carry on. So that's why the child has a fear of death. Other than the fear of death, child does not have anything to do with this body. The food, when the hunger is there, then give the food, finish. After the child is not in the body level. It's very easy for the child. We were also like that when we were children, but as we have grown, we become so much conscious of this body, so much conscious of that body that we have forgotten that we are self. We are free from that. So therefore, we go through the patch of ignorance so that we come out wise. That journey is what Upanishads give us. Any other knowledge is only knowledge about the world outside. That means to say, either the senses or senses material which are subserving the senses, right from the body to all the way up to the intellect, and that's what it subserves. That's nothing beyond that. Even our intellect, when you look at it, intellect is nothing but about the material world outside, nothing beyond that. That's why Upanishad says that even this Upanishad, when I write it and then I explain it, we are in the world only. But the message of the Upanishad is like the way the finger pointing to the moon. So it's only a finger but pointing to the moon. Moon is outside there. So it points us towards that particular self which is beyond the death. That's why we are talking about. So this knowledge is available in this particular culture at various places. There's vast culture spreading all the way right from Iran, Iraq, was part of India, right all the way up to this thing, that Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, all those things, they were all, you have Hindu names for that actually, all those places. And this way, Himalayas and beyond, Himalayas on the other side of Himalayas also, part of India. And then on this side, right up to Australia. By the way, the latest statistics show Australia, the large population is Hindu, major population is Hindus. So all this was part of India, part of Bharata. This is supposed to be spread. In fact, when I went to Ukraine, actually there, uh, everybody, some 150 students, they used to come to my class, and then they said that we should start Sanskrit classes. And, uh, how is that you are so much interested in our Indian culture? So look, you say in a mantra, Bharatavarshe, Bharatakhande. That Bharatakhanda includes we also there in the part of Bharatakhanda. It's not just then you say that Himalaya, Dakshina part, Dakshina. All that we say. So in the Pravara itself we say, actually Ukraine said we also belong to you. That was the kind of concept that they have. So they also are interested in this particular. So this particular culture where we had several these, rishis used to be the top of the hill, basically away from the. You see, normal people will be near by the side of the river. rishis will be above on the hill, so that normal population cannot reach. Only somebody who is really interested will reach there. So interest, with that interest they will come, student. So at least you should have that interest. So that's the reason why they have created that. So these rishis used to teach from various places. Now what happened is Vyasa is the person or one person or group of people. They maintain the record of whatever that's going on in this culture. Northeast, western part and northern part, northeastern part and southern part, central southern part. So all that, whatever that's happening, they have recorded like a diary. The same way, like the way in the case of a diary, even these Vedas are like that. In diary, one thing is that there is no topic wise, there is no regular teaching. Teaching text, it will be like that. There, it is not like that. It just goes on something about material, like all those things, and then there is some teacher and then teaching. This is what used to be the way style that Upanishads are. Therefore, what happens is that there are several such peaks where the teachings are going on, and that teachings are the peaks that is Upanishad. They're called as Upanishad because that they are the it's called as Vedanta because every knowledge, everything in this culture is supposed to subserve the main purpose of life, which is supposed to be going to the spirituality. So that's why all other things are supposed to be karma kanda. Karma means supporting activity. This is what is supposed to be jnana kanda, the knowledge aspect of it, where the people would go into that. This jnana kanda is in three different aspects of it. One aspect of it is that Brahma Parichaya. That means to say, they explain about what is that undying principle within you, undying principle in the nature itself. That's what called as Brahman, which is occupying everywhere. It's a very simple, crude way that we can analyze it, understand is that, see, this Akasha concept is very beautiful within us. Here all and Akasha is there. That means space. Just because that we have put some place, some object in that, does not mean we have replaced the space. Like for example, I put so many things. That means space is somewhere else replaced. Any other material gets replaced. But Akasha is something which takes the uh, form of that whatever that you keep it, but it is still there as an Akasha. This is how Brahman itself becomes you and me and all that, but Brahman is still there. It's not gone anywhere. Now this form goes away, then Brahman is there again. So that aspect is what is called as the unperishable kind of a thing. The series of definition is given by Mandukya Upanishad idea. Acche, and Krishna also gives Acche, Joyam, Adakyoyam, Akle, Dyo, Shoshe, you can't be burnt, you can't be cut, you can't be pieces. Because you are somebody who is like the space. You are the space. So this aspect was something which is being taught by this culture, and all other things are this is what is the core teaching, and then all the other things are peripheral teaching. But we also had this idea peripheral teachings are that kind of teaching which will try to point you towards this. That also, it's not just, as I said earlier, that you just make some money and then and that's what is the purpose. No, no purpose. Life you live, you have riches, you have this, all that thing. But can you make that also pointed towards taking you towards the spirituality? That's why we have both these aspects of it. All this what you said about the Homa Yajna that we are doing, that is that portion of it. The ancient sages have given that to see that those things which are directed though with the material world outside, there is a systematic way of putting all those things. But that can also do some kind of a spiritual uh, feeling journey for within you. It prachodana. So that we have, that's what in the um, Mandukya Upanishad it comes, and Prasnopanishad also it comes. Yes, Prasnopanishad we have seen that. One is called as the Dakshinayana and that is the Uttarayana. Both these things for the spiritual knowledge he has given. Because spiritual knowledge, because the student is already in this direction. That's why he said Pipalada before in the first sutra itself. He gives the idea is Brahmanishtaha Brahmaparaha. So that means that he already practiced so many things. That means he is a good person. So there is no reason for him to think of bad and good aspect of it because he's already established in good. After that, what need to be done? Then he talks about Dakshinayana. Dakshinayana is then you try to do good work and then all these yoga, havan, ham, all these things you do it, and the virtues that you get, you come back. Other expending all those things, then you come back. That's what he says in the sutra. Such a person, Dakshinayana person, will come back. Will continue that. But only thing is there is another portion which is Uttarayana. Uttarayana is upward journey. Upward journey, somebody you get free. That is the moksha. So, so very few people will be uh, capable of going there or eligible for that Uttarayana. Not many people still get caught up in the uh, doing good work, helping the society, going this way. This is what is Dakshinayana. Some of the texts have put in a wrong way about Dakshinayana, involving in the material world. It's not the negative way that involving in the material world, because we are all involved in the material world, and the way that we are involved has got its own discipline. Like for example, we establish. I always say that a grahastha is established means a griha is established, a family. It's such a big support to the society. The society will be relieved of so many problems because that it is there. I always say that if you are a single person staying somewhere, nobody would like to come and stay in your house. There are- Whereas that when you say you are married, you have family, oh, all right, any guest can come and stay, knock on your whole door, and then come inside and say you are also welcome. See, all those things that means to say so stability in the society, unit in the society recognized because that there is that kind of a system that we have created that system. Yeah, such a extraordinary system that we have created. That's why we have all these samskaras, Shodasa samskaras, all those things. Marriage is a samskara, then going to the school is a samskara, taking food is a samskara. So right from that, that means to say every activity that we do it, we try to point out towards the spiritual activity, spiritual direction. Marriage itself, we have never taken it negatively. In fact, of all the Shodasha samskaras, marriage is supposed to be an extraordinary, highest uh, respect is given to the marriage samskara because it's setting up a unit in the society like that. So this is how the whole journey is made, and that journey is what is the Upanishads talk about that higher level. So Upanishad talks very less about Dakshinayana, more about the Uttarayana, and just one shloka Dakshinayana he says part of this. Then he talks about Uttarayana. Same way we have the prana within us. Now that's what is the next discussion that goes on. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, all these things are there. But they do their activities, and then we do certain things to see that their activities. But is there a way that they can also take you to the higher level, understanding of the prana? When the rishi sees that it is something that can do, merge merge me into the universe, into the space beyond the universe. When merges me into that, then the rishi gets that respect to the prana. That is the reason why he says pranasyedam vashe sarvam tridiveyata. That respect makes him to say that kind of a thing. Those two shlokas are there, which are meant for giving that. There's always that the style of Upanishad, whether it here or Taittiriya Upanishad or any other Upanishad. Suddenly you see that Rishi goes into that kind of a mood where he is feeling and expressing that. It's not just he's saying something, but from depth of his experience, it comes into that. Like Taittiriya Upanishad says, how, ahamannam, ahamannam, ahamannam. That how, it's an expression of wow. It's a idea of wow, wonder. But that I am the same food. That food itself is prana, here he says. Brahman. itself is the sun. Sun himself becomes the food. That's what is the idea that he gives. So it is from that how ahamannama, ahamannado ahamannadaha, ahamagvashloka kruta. So all these things show that Upanishad has an experience. Similarly, in Isava's Upanishad, the sentences don't look at the literal aspect of it, but look at the exclamation aspect of it. When he says that Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Ishavasyam, that means to say the whole world is nothing but God. He said his experience, his expression. And that's some he got into that, and then people also can get into that. We have such an example in the case of you know mm, uh, Amir Khusru saying that mm, he says that Anal Haq, that means I am God. So that they murdered him, they cut him to pieces because how can you say that? And it is his experience. He just said that. That's what it- And Jesus also at one place says that I and Father are one. I mean, logically, how can it fit in that? But then he said it. Nobody killed him, or maybe crucified because of that reason only. In India, that we actually praise him. The other culture that they don't accept it. In our culture, that Rishi said that. Similarly, Rishi, when he finds out that Anando Brahmeti Vyada, Anandadhyeva Kalviman, Saisha Bhargavi Varani Vidya, Parame Vyoman Pratishta, he was just established in that state. He never came back. Not only that, whoever gets into that state, Sayevam Vedaha Pratitishthati, will be there only. And that's how we have respected that. And so, therefore, the first thing in the Upanishad is Brahma Parichaya. But then when they said that this thing, therefore there's Brahma Abhyasa. Brahma Abhyasa means there is a practice, there is a method by which that you go there. So this Brahma Abhyasa is also what is called as the prakriyas. That means a kriya, a methodology, or a thought methodology which can take you to that. Therefore, Panchakosha is a prakriya, Avastatraya is a prakriya, Prana prakriya. So these are all the prakriyas, Brahma Abhyasa. And third is the Brahmanishta, one who is established in that Brahman. What is the way that he expresses? Just now I said that, how when he said, it indicates clearly there is somebody who is in that Brahmanishta. Recently, about a year ago, 2 years ago, the pair of musicians from Andhra Pradesh, Malladi brothers, excellent singers, and they presented one whole concert in Bangalore, and that concert was about Tyagaraja and his uh, only those particular kritis which Tyagaraja has written in his Brahma Anubhava. So when he is in that state, what kind of an expression that he gives, those kritis will give that. I mean, the concept itself is beautiful. Similarly, if somebody can do a research on Purandaradasa, what is that? See, other songs are there, nice bhakti and everything, but there may be some songs of Purandara which are supposed to be Brahma Abhyasa or Brahmanishta, Brahma Anubhava songs kind of a thing. That shows that these people also reach that state now in that experience. Upanishads try to take us to that. So Brahma Parichaya, Brahma Abhyasa, then Brahmanishta. Only thing is that Upanishads are such crisp knowledge. Uh, just by cursory reading, you just don't get it. Even the translation will not help you. It will require a lot of explanation, then it will give you the idea. That's the reason why they have given what is called as the some of the great people that they have given text which can be then this Bhagavad Gita is also a thing which can dilute certain amount of Upanishad ideas and then gives to us. Like for example, Upanishad says that Indriyanu Paranyahu, Indriya Vyaparamanaha, and then beyond the manas there is what is called as Chitta, and Chitta this and that, like that, some 7, 8 steps he goes. Bhagavad Gita simplifies that, saying that Indriyani Parani and Indriya Vyaparamana, Manasastu Parabuddhi, Yo Buddhi Parasasasa. Beyond that is Brahman. He just simplifies the whole thing so that easy for people to follow. So Bhagavad Gita itself is a text which can simplified, which simplified Upanishad knowledge, so that we can understand that. But then there are some other great scholars. They have written the text which is supposed to be Prakarana Grantha. Prakarana Grantha, whatever that Upanishad knowledge is there, they simplified it and put it. Like for example, Panchakosha. By reading Taittiriya Upanishad, you don't get it. But then there's a Prakarana Gandha like Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha. Tattva Bodha, Shankaracharya has written. He uh, goes into detail about this Panchakosha. So like that, Atma Bodha. Atma Bodha also goes into details of Mandukya Upanishad, whatever the ideas are there. So these are called as Prakarana Grantha. But then Mandukya Upanishad itself is very brief. 12 slokas are there. Therefore, Gaudapada is the teacher of Shankaracharya. He wrote Prakaranas and put it inside the our Upanishad inside that Prakarana Grantha itself and created 4 different Prakaranas. So therefore these and then that became part of the Mandukya Upanishad normally. So that's how Prakaranas are trying to explain how it's very enchanting to see that there's a one word is there in the main Upanishad. He writes about 5, 6 shlokas on that word to explain that. What did the Upanishad mean by that one word? This is what is the prakarana that he gives. That is Advaita Prakarana. There are 4 prakaranas he has written, out of which Advaita Prakarana gives that aspect of it like that. But again, all these things will help us to see that how you can do the sadhana to reach that state, whatever that explanation that is given. That's the idea. And because that generally they are the question answer dialogue. That's why it is teacher and student connection. That's why Upanishad. Upanishad means sitting close to and then discussing dialogue. The name of Upanishad came that way. And of what? Of the highest truths of the principles of life. So therefore, Upanishad like knowledge you don't find anywhere in the world. Because all the philosophers in the world everywhere, they stopped at the intellect level. They have never gone beyond the intellect level. Whether it is Socrates or Schopenhauer or anybody, they stopped at that level. They are not. I was reading Alberto Camus also. He talks very many things, but then he stopped at that level. He doesn't go beyond that. Morning somebody was coming and then we were discussing about that. I said, Kama gives so many ideas about psychology, but then he stops at that intellect level, he doesn't go beyond that, Alberto Kama. So that's where basically they all stopped and we go beyond that. Upanishad goes beyond that. So normally what happens is either the question is revealed or the question is understood and then teacher only gives the answer. But in Prasnopanishad, actually the question is given. Question itself is given. In fact, question also is not unimportant. The answer is good, but then question is important because basically, if you look at Bhagavad Gita, rather than looking at Krishna's answers, even you look at Arjuna's questions, you can see that how the Arjuna's psychology has changed. As it proceeds, the questions change, indicating the psychology of Arjuna. That's a very beautiful study. Somebody can take it up. So we have finished the first sutra. And first question, and then first question, it comes to the idea of how the creation, and that's where this is where in the first one, he says that these are the two things that are there. Two are necessary for creation, Miduna Utpadayata. Everywhere that Vedanta principle is there. Like the way day is there because night is there because of day is there. One without the other is meaningless. But then if one is one aspect of it, the other is like for example, sun is there and also moon is there. Moon is not the moon that we see. His idea of moon is which shines by borrowing the light from the sun. That means it doesn't have any light by itself. It doesn't have any expression by itself. It is just inert. That's why he calls it as sun is the prana, and this is what is Rai. Similarly, he goes into the next idea saying that there is Uttarayana, Dakshinayana. There is journey for northwards and southwards. Now that's what is the creation. Further, if you want to further go into creation means what further details it comes out of it. Details comes out of it because that there are so many planets are there, stars are there, and that makes basically all these seasons. See, look at the way that Brahman itself gives an expression to various sun, moon, and all those things, and then the planets. But everything that comes up, it creates one more uh, measure in the society. Samvatsara. So therefore, the Samvatsara, the idea of the year and then all those various days and months and all those things, besides the seasons, they're all created by the sun himself. Just to see that this division is created can be possible only when the one and the other is there, Uttarayana, Dakshinayana is there. Now, because of Uttarayana, Dakshinayana is there, even the journey also, human journey, is also in Uttarayana, Dakshinayana. Dakshinayana is where that we try to come back again and again in this. The Uttarayana is where you get the freedom. So ultimately, what he says that he starts with the cosmos, but comes down to the human being. That's another feature of Upanishad is any Upanishad when you take it, it finally goes to the level of Atma Pariksha. Because sadhana is to be done inside. So if I say Brahma Abhyasa, it has to be coming from within. So it can't be done outside. Why? Because outside any investigation that we need to do, we take support of the senses, the support of the outside objects, outside senses. Outside object will give you the details of another outside object. It's nothing beyond that. Only inside we will get into the deeper, greater details. Otherwise, outside is the same. So therefore, these are the two types of knowledge. One is the outer knowledge, and the other is the inner knowledge. And this inner knowledge is the one which Upanishad talks about, which takes us. So ultimately, any question that's why the Upanishad leads us to inside journey, inward journey. So what ultimately that question which uh, Ramana Maharshi asked, Nanyaru, who am I? It boils down to that question. Ultimately, that question. 14-year-old boy, Venkatramana, started with that question, who am I? Then he became Ramana Maharshi. So powerful. Now the second prashna is Athahinam Bhargavo Vaidarbhi Papracha Bhagavan Katyeva Devaha Prajam Vidharayante Katarayeta Prakashyante Kaha Punaresham Varishthaiti. He comes to this level of now what is called as Deva. Here Deva, a very beautiful concept. What happens is that eyes see, ears hear, and all that. There is a power of seeing, power of hearing, power of analyzing. These are all the powers that are there behind it. Without this power, you are not connected with the objective world outside. Senses may be there, but then without this power, eyes may be there, but without the power of seeing, eyes become useless. And that power of seeing is not there in your hands. In fact, this is what in another Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, comes into that. He says that, okay, it's okay, stop seeing. The best what we can do is close your eyes. Have you really stopped seeing? No. You're seeing the world outside. Now you close your eyes, you're seeing the darkness. Now, I didn't want to see the darkness. I want you to stop seeing. Now you start questioning, how can I do that? Because it just goes on by itself. It's not in your hands. And another wonderful thing is, seeing is an art of everything that is there in this nature. Fish also see, animals also see, birds also see, everything sees, and all that you are also seeing. So whatever is supposed to be these five different powers, pancha indriyas that we have, is in the nature. You have borrowed that and then you are using it. Some seeing, and then somebody else is also seeing. This is also, I am seeing, then I am also seeing, that person says. This power called as seeing, we call it as deva. So you are under the control of deva. That's why that is supposed to be Adi Daivika. I is Adi Bhautika, power of seeing is Adi Daivika, then who sees is Adhyatmika. You are that. Water is there. The water that you see outside is supposed to be Adi Bhautika. But the power to wet, all the capacity that what is supposed to be the Daiva of water. So, river god, when we say, it is that power behind that water that we have. Now that makes now the point opens to us saying that means first Daiva is there, and then he graced us by his capacity so that I can use that power of seeing. I can use the power of hearing. So therefore, this particular Bhargava Vaidarbhi, that he is now aiming at that. The first one he aimed at the matter. Now he aims at that power. So that's why he says, Bhagwan, Katyeva Devaha Praja Dharayante. How is this Devas, that means the powers, hold the people Dharayante? Katra etat prakashyante. How does it shines? Kaha punaresham varishta iti. Who is the boss of all those things? Who is above all those things? Very, very beautiful question that way, because it encompasses all of our sensory activities. Jnanendriya can 19 sensory activities. Like you can say, who is that within me? How is that thinking going on? Analyzing, memorizing. Always say, Hari, how can you keep the things in your memory? I can't even keep the memory of name or something like that. So it's something which is working within you. That Deva, and we have given all the various forms of God and attributes, all that. We are very good at that in Indian culture. So he gives all that. Now this is something which is interesting. And it says that, I mean, even just think that somebody could imagine that itself is something very great. And he says that Tasmai Savovacha, then he replied, Akashavo Akashava Esha Devaha Vayuragnirapah Prithvi वाङ्मनः चक्षुश्रोत्रं च ते प्रकाश्य अभिवदन्ति वयमेतत् बाणम् अवष्टभ्यं विधारयामः. So now he comes to this idea. What is that first deva? Is Akasha. Akasha, what we use in a very simple way, is a space. It is not just simple space. It's something what is far beyond that. What is that? It is In fact, in the beginning itself, I don't know whether you were here or not yet. I said that when we say space, space cannot be replaced. Space is not being replaced. Just put something here, the space will not go somewhere else. Array, you have kept it here, so I'll let it go somewhere else in the corner. Nothing like that. Space itself takes this form. That's the beauty of it. So that means to say, space can give up its spaceness to become something. The freedom of giving up itself is something which the space has. So Akashavohi Devaha, that means to say the out of all these devas, all the gods that are there, first thing is Akasha. That's what is the space. Actually, space, we don't have proper concept in English, therefore we don't have a better word. But space doesn't show the liveliness behind it. Or we should say it is pure consciousness itself is space. So that way, uh, a space which is life is supposed to be the one which he calls it as Akasha. Space plus life supposed to be Akasha. Devaha, Vayuhu Agnihi Apaha, Prithvi. Now, when you look at it, the Vayuhu Agni Apaha Prithvi, when you look at it seems that there is a progression. What is that progression? As I said, Akasha, the very definition of Akasha is that which has Akasha. Everything, anything can be possible. It can be anything. But then that anything can be possible, it has given up some quality so that it becomes the Vayu. Vayu has not completely as Akash has, but Akash has some properties given up, therefore it becomes Vayu. Now, further it becomes lesser in its freedom, that means capacity to accept anything, and that's what becomes Agni. Agni becomes Apaha. Agni means fire, or fire means it's a local energy. Any kind of energy, it is supposed to be local energy. That means it becomes one energy. Like if you simply take it, that magnetism do certain things, electricity does certain things. If you want certain things to be done by electricity by magnetism, you have to convert that into electricity. Then only it can do it. Otherwise, it cannot do it. Water is supposed to be energy, but water itself cannot give us light. We have to convert that energy of water into something like electricity so that it can give us light. So that means to say there is already a boundary created. So Akasha is something which is without any boundary. From that, Vayu, Agni, all these things are further smaller and smaller boundaries created. And finally, what is that ultimate boundary? Is Prithvi, solid. It has absolutely no freedom at all. But all these things are necessary for the creation aspect of it, interaction aspect of it, that these things are necessary. So therefore, it is for the transaction purpose only. Therefore, basically, this world is karma bhumi. If the transaction is a karma, so everything is doing some karma or the other. The moment that you don't do any karma, then you become space. So this activity aspect of it to generate, that's why these things are created. So now it is very easy to think of it like the way that day and night are there, so that night has its activity, day has its activity, and all those things. So like that same way, all these things have an anti kind of a thing. That means Earth is created, two aspects of it that is there, positive, negative aspect of it. All these things can be there to see that the creation activity can take place. Like the way that what we have said from the Taittiriya Upanishad, food creates hunger also is there. Therefore, the transaction takes place. So, Akashavai Devaha, Vayuhu Agnihi Apaha Prithvi. Until that point of time, it is fine. That means it's all about the world outside. But then you are also part of the world, and then there is something which is there within you also. How these five elements, which are supposed to be the manifestations of the Brahman that has happened there, how does it manifest within you, in the individual? It is the form of vak, manas, chakshuhu, shrotram cha. This is prabhash, the prakasha abhivadanti vayametat. All these things are, it is me only. Brahman only has become your vak and your manas, your chakshu, and then your shrotram cha prakashati. All these things are nothing but you. Yeah, without the idea of Brahman, without the idea of consciousness, what is the use of having a mouth and ability to talk? It has no. It's like the way computer is there. Computer can give sound, provided that you already fed the computer sound with it's my sound, then it comes into that. So therefore, basically, there is something behind that will be there. That behind is what the Brahman is. So whether it is and Prakashati, Abhivadanti, that means to say that shines like the way that the moon recognized by the way that sun shines on the moon, so we shine. So all these things, very. That's the reason why I say that eyes are there, and who is there using these eyes? The power of seeing is there, but who is using that? It's Brahman who is using that. That means to say that I who is supposed to be using that is supposed to be Brahman. But we don't realize that. It's consciousness only saying, consciousness only is hearing, consciousness is only interacting with the world outside. And that consciousness we want to recognize. That's why they say Namaste. Namaste is that you are consciousness, and that my consciousness pays respect to your consciousness is the idea of Namaste. Tan Varishta Prana Vacha, then this prana, which is supposed to be the highest, and this also, this concept of this kind of a thing comes in the Kenopanishad also. There also it says, because this question has got one more part of it, and that is Katraha Yetat Prakashayante. So Prakashate, that is what is the aspect. Kaha Punaresham Varishta iti. Who is that Varishta? Who is great of it? Who is the leader of it? Who is the boss of it? This is a little teasing question that he has. So immediately Tan Varishta Prana Vacha, the main Mukhya Prana says that Mam Mohamapadyate Ahameva Tat Panchatha Atmanam Pravibhaja Etat Banam Avashtavya, in this body that I am saying, Vidharaya Niti Te Shraddhadana Babhuvaha Ashraddhadana Babhuvaha. So I am the from which I have distributed all these pranas, other things to various um, panchapranas, very panchapranas, prana, pana, vyana, udana, samana. So I am there behind it, all these things. So that means to say anything that activities happen within us, it is through this prana, main prana, becoming various aspects of it to do that. How do we, of course, this is poetically defined, but how do we understand from the point of view of which logically is what can be having every possibility gives up certain possibilities to become something which is a directed one. Like mind, when you take it, mind can see, hear, everything is there, but mind directly will not do all those things. So a part of it loses all its ability, becomes only seeing, becomes eyes, only hearing becomes ears. Now, therefore, basically, it is the Varishta Pranaha became all these other things, and then they do their functioning. So, therefore, so that is what he says, that all these things are created by me. are projected by me, and then they are doing these activities. It means basically that I am the boss of, I am doing all these things, it's for me. Etad Banam Avashtabhya Vidhaya Nidhi. Now this Sharira, the body, has to function. When it has to function in a balanced way, in an organized way, so I take care of all those things. Shraddhadhana Babhuvaha. That means I am the main person, but the other gods were not supposed to believe his words. That is the idea. They wanted, no, 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 we are doing our work, so my work is important. No, Parishta Prana is not important, I am important. I am equally important. Why only is important? I am equally important. So this is what is the idea that comes about. Rebel. So Abhimanat Urdham Utkramataiva. Sasmin उत्क्रामत्येत अथेव सर्व एव उत्क्रामन्ते. Now यस्मिन् च प्रतिष्ठमाने सर्व एव प्रतिष्ठन्ते तद्यथा muktika. So what happens is that, okay, if you are like that, then let me try to understand it. Then you are all independent, you are fine, you are going ahead, fine, that is fine. But then this main prana says, okay, you keep doing all the works, I go from here. When I go from here, the other pranas also follow behind you because they can't exist without you. They can exist for a short period of time. Like, for example, somebody dies, there are so many local pranas which are still working. You see that the beard still grows for somebody, the skin also something with the circulation still going on to some extent because they don't know the person is dead. They are doing independent activity, so therefore they think that we are the boss ourselves and we are not dependent on that. But soon that you realize that the light goes away. It's like the way when the sun sets. Before that, when the sun sets, at that point of time still there is some sunlight is there, because of which the things are shining, so still appear. But then you know that they are soon they are going to die because the moment that sun finally goes down. But this shining is also not because of that your independent activity, independent. It is still that the sunlight is coming onto you, therefore that you are shining. Even that last drop of shining that is there, it's because of the sun only. So even the drop, therefore the really prana is gone does not mean that prana is completely gone away. Its sambra, that means to say its aura, is still there. And then it slowly dies. And that aura dies, completely aura dies on the 13th day. Until that time, that there is certain aspect of it which is still hanging on to the body. That's the reason why we have this 13-day ceremony. You say that the person is there. Lot of times people get also that indication that yes, he has been there, it is he who has done this. There's a routine activity going on, routine way, and then there's a part of it he will be doing it. In my brother's case, it was like that. They forgot to do that. It happened. How did it happen? Something like a wind came and something like that, and then happened. Array, it is like the way that my brother wanted. It is the same way it happened. So that means they immediately got surprised and pleasant, happy also. Said, Pratapa, I think Shantu is still there because you see that some things happened as far as that as much as that he was doing it. It was like that. And we have such indications also sometimes to show that the person takes his own time. But like the way, but what happens is that Mukhya Prana is the leader. That's what he says that once the queen bee goes away, all their bees also run away from that, along with that. Until that time, they are doing their work. Independently, they are doing their work. So, it recognize that Mukhya Prana, that is like the way he says that Madhukara Raja, Amuktatmayam Sarvam Evo Utkramante. Then when they gets up, everything else goes up, goes away. So, along with that. Uh, Until that time that you are doing your job, your work, you are supposed to be assigned to do that work in your own way. So that means to say, I will be doing my work until that last moment, meticulously, correctly. It's not because of any, his only presence is necessary. That's all. The boss presence is there. I keep saying that Modi has given us the idea of Swachh Bharat. Now who has to do it? We have to do it. Modi will not come and clean, or wait for Modi to come and clean. No, no, no. We have to do it. That's what is the thing. And in Ramayana, that comes very beautifully. It says that the description of Ramarajya, Bharata says, gives the whole account of Rama. All these developments have taken place in Ayodhya. So much improvement in 14 years. And then he says, why this improvement has taken place? Because this is Ramarajya. Therefore, the improvement has taken place. But people are not happy. One wonders, when everything is growing like that, why is not? It is because Rama, you are not there. That's why they were not happy. Now you have come, they are happy. So that's why Ramarajya is created by the people, not by the leader. We want Modi to create Ramarajya. No, you create it. Your surroundings, you have to do it. So, like the way that, in fact, today I was seeing one video, very interesting. This beehive was there, and then a eagle came and then was eating the bees. It seems like a queen bee came and saw that and then orders. All the bees go immediately and attack the eagle. Eagle dies. In the hands of bees, eagle dies because that they all attack once. So once the queen bee says that everything follows. So that it says that so Yada Makshika Madhukara Raja, like the way in the case of beehive, Madhukara Raja, the queen bee, and then and we have Madhukara Raja. I don't know in English we call it as queen bee. Madhukara Raja, the king of that Raja, अमुक्ता उत्क्रामन्तः सर्वानेव उत्क्रामन्ते तस्मिन् च प्रतिष्ठमाने सर्वा एव प्रतिष्ठन्ते इव वाङ्मनश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रं च प्रीता प्राणं स्तुवन्ति. That's how they come back to the एषः अग्निः तपः एषः सूर्यः एष पर्जन्यः मधवानिव वायुः एष पृथ्वी रैर्देव sadasachamrutam cheti. This is parallel to the same thing in the world outside, like the way that what happens within us is the same outside. And the sun comes at that moment, and the rai also, because of the sun only, the rai, that means in the material world also, whether it is the crops growing or whether the river flowing or whether whatever that is happening, it's all because of the sun which is happening. Because of one thing, that's what is prana. So that's the reason why prana is held so high. Extraordinary, wonderful. Stop it here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yeah.
ಈ ಆಕಾಶ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್
ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ
ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಪಂಚ ಪ್ರಾಣಗಳು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಕಾನ್ಶಿಯಸ್ನೆಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರೋ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
ರೈಟ್.
ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಡೆತ್ ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇರುತ್ತೆ? ಈ ದೇಹ ಮಂಡಲ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ,
ರೈಟ್.
ಈ ರಕ್ತನು ಮಂಡಲೇ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಟ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್?
ಕಾನ್ಷಿಯಸ್ನೆಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ one portion of the prana, one part of prana, it still remains as that portion, and that portion ಆ ಪ್ರಾಣದ ಕೆಲಸ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ the activity is whatever that your deep memory it is there, which unfulfilled kind of a desire, all that it keeps in a store. This is what later on ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, which is supposed to be Dhananjaya Prana ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. The Dhananjaya Prana will carry on that. There is certain memory which is belonging to the body and body relation, and there is certain thing which is supposed to be Dhananjaya Prana. That will go with you. That is like a carry-on luggage with you. And you come back with that luggage.
Again, that takes Sanjay.
See, because you are still wanting to express, and you are trying to find out an avenue how to express it. Because expression ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ you don't have an instrument. ಆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರುಮೆಂಟ್ ಹುಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರುಮೆಂಟ್ ಹೆಂಗಿರಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ದಟ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರುಮೆಂಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದಟ್ ಟೆಂಡೆನ್ಸಿ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ಮನೆ ಹುಡುಕ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಯು ಲುಕ್ ಫಾರ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಹೂ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಕೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ಯುವರ್ ಲಗೇಜ್. ನನ್ನ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಏನೇನು ಐಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅದನ್ನು ಪೋಷಣೆ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ, ಇಲ್ಲದೇ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ. Okay, I go there because their tendencies, they accepted the tendencies that match. But then after going there, then there may be some other situations might happen. Now what you happens is that all that is there, you add the new tendencies to it.
This is a beautiful concept. Yeah. And I remember Didi once telling us that, how part of the prana chooses, right?
Yeah.
Chooses where it wants to be born.
Right. That.
Because that, so she was telling us that when you were taking classes, special needs children, right? So how you have to, because parents are always very distressed.
Yeah, right.
So you have to tell them no. It's very beautiful. I remember that Didi once she had told us how they choose the family where they want to be born.
Where they want to be.
ಅದು ವೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ.
Oh yeah, I mean normal course nalli you don't have to wait for such a long time because normal tendencies namdalla you can easily find something. Extraordinary tendencies like a Gandhi who died will find it difficult to reborn. A Hitler, he will not find somebody who can match with his desires. Hitler or Mussolini. Thank God we don't have that kind of. So that's why we choose our parents. So then what happens is that it as simple as the idea that ಅಯ್ಯಪ್ಪ ಈ ಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಚಪ್ಪಲಿ ಹೋಯಿತು, ಶಾಪ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೊಸ ಚಪ್ಪಲಿ ತೊಗೊಳ್ತೀನಿ, ನನ್ನ ಕಾಲಿಗೆ ಸೂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು, ನನ್ನ ವಾಕಿಂಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ಏನೋ ರನ್ನರ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅದು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ನಾನು ಹೋಗಿ ಆರ್ಡಿನರಿ ಚಪ್ಪಲಿ ತೊಗೋತೀನಿ. ಐ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ವಿಚ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೊ ಐ ಚೂಸ್ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಮೈ ಓನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ದೊಡ್ಡವರಾದರೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನೀನೇ ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬ್ಲೇಮ್ ಯುವರ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಯು I wish I wouldn't have been born to you. That you have thought before you are born.
It's all that comes up in the argument.
Right.
ನೀರು ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕೆಮ್ಮು
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸಾಕು.
There is a upward locus and downward locus.